You know, the other day I was watching a preacher on TV. I call him Smiley Burnett. I don't know. He's got a great big smiling teeth and black hair. And he was preaching about having a bad day and talking about how he got up that morning and something went wrong. And then he went out and his Mercedes wouldn't start. And then he was late to get to his workout session, made him late to all his work church meetings. And I said, you know, this guy doesn't know what a bad day is. This guy can't talk to me about what a bad day is. I haven't been able to walk for the past 36 years to go to the bathroom like a normal human being because I had to get drunk to be somebody. Had 14 major operations. I can tell you what a bad day is. That's why I think I relate to the prisoners in prison. I think that's why I relate to the people on the streets. It all started back in 9th grade, between 9th grade and Amarillo High, in the back of a 53 Chevrolet. Me and 4 other guys got a case of beer from Porter down at the Hilton Hotel. One of the 4 guys is here. One's dead. I don't really remember who the other one was. I think that's about the most fun I ever had. We laughed and we giggled, and it seems like I read somewhere saying fun for a season. By the time I was 18, I don't think I could have a good time without finding the booze. It seemed like by the time when I was 18, if you told me I'd been doing things I've been doing at 21, I'd tell you that no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go that far. Alcohol and drugs will take you that far. Alcohol and drugs will take you where you don't want to go. Alcohol and drugs took me face down on a sheet of blacktop to the broken back. One night, when I was 21, rougher than rough should be, me and 4 guys was loaded up, was dragging Polk Street, going up to where old Amarillo High burned down, turning around, going back down to the warehouse district, turning around. As we turned around up there in the warehouse district, here come a young man over there, and he had a pamphlet in his hand, and he was holding it out at me, and he said, "You know Jesus Christ." I reached down, and I got a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I held it up the window. And I said, "No, but do you know Jack Daniels?" I'm proud y'all didn't laugh. Because we laughed. We tromped all over that kid. We made him feel about that high as he walked off. I hope God's blessing him right now. I hope every time I tell this story, God's blessing him. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he looked like. I couldn't tell you where he's at. But I know when I get to heaven, he's probably going to be one of the first ones I see next to Jesus Christ. Because it says, he's a witness and I'll go forward. We got a lot of Friday night heroes out there. But to me, this kid is a hero. Because he's witnessing for Jesus. I thought about that later. I drove off. I had remorse about it. My morality at the time, I shook it off pretty quick. Went on about business. 1 week later, we snowed out at work. Went to a little motorcycle shop. Loaded up with a buddy of mine, and we were going to go hunting out at the All Rock place. Hunting coyotes. We went out there and we shot a bunch of holes in there, got all drunk up, trying to get back to the bars before we closed. Johnny lost control of the Jeep. Icy roads, we rolled that Jeep. It was probably about as far from me to halfway across this room. I was laying there as we hit that culvert. Johnny both throwed out one side and I throwed out the other. Cars passing by out there, and 2 or 3 of them passed by, and we hollered at them, but in the fog and the mist, they couldn't hear us or see us. Johnny said, "I'm going to go for help." I said, "Are you all right?" He said, "No, I got a broke leg." He didn't ask me, "Are you all right?" And I said, "No, I think I broke my back." I was laying face down on that blacktop. Ice covered it in his downfield jacket in front of him. Johnny began to crawl off into the darkness. He put his broke leg up on top of his good leg, and I kind of saw him go by as he disappeared out there into the fog. And I kind of thought, this is it. And so I tried to crawl up there to get that downfield jacket because I knew I was going to pass out. It wasn't no farther from me to his knee right there. I was looking up trying to get it, and on the other side of it was laying a bottle of Jack Daniels. I don't know how you believe, but I know how I believe. I'd make my God alcohol. And it was a bad master to serve. I done forgot who the real God was. Johnny did make it over to Wick's Lumber, and he threw a brick through the window, and the cops were the ones that found us out there, and I found myself in Northwest Texas Hospital, where I began to try to learn how to pray again. Because the pain was severe. We were there for 3 months. They don't do it like they did now. God did take the pain away. Then they moved me to a rehab center. Rehab center is where I started trying to grow again. It's just like I threw a light switch, and I was a different person. I was not like that guy on TV talking about how great the light little call button was and how great it was at the rehab center. I did at rehab centers, I was going to walk or die. Tom Walters is not going to live like that. Tom Walters is not going to do this. I worked my butt off. I got strong. I could stand up parallel bars and run the length of this room and had just some iron and rings in there. I could do the iron cross. I could do anything. But I couldn't take one step. I wanted out of there. I wanted to go back to doing what I was doing. I wanted to be back the way I was. That's the way I was praying. I remember one night I was snotting around feeling real sorry for myself. I'd been down working out at the little gym they had. I went back to the room, and there were 4 of us in that room. I had a curtain that divided it, and I began to hear my roommate begin to cry. He wasn't crying, he was just sobbing great big alligator tears. I crawled into my wheelchair. I went over and I crawled up on his bed, and I began to dry the tears out of his eyes because he broke his neck and he couldn't even move his arms to dry his own tears out of his own eyes. I sat there on his bed that night, and I began to cry. I began to cry for Donnie. I began to cry for my other roommate. He was about 35 and got a hold of the high wires and burned off his left arm and blew out his right leg and dropped him about 40 foot and broke his back. I began to cry for Bob. For the first time, Tom Walters cried for somebody else. I want you to know God's good all the time. He allowed me to break my back. But he got what he was after. He broke my heart. It's that broken heart that takes me into the prison.
Absolutely.
It's that broken heart takes me to whatever ministry God sends me to.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come up here to brag about Tom Walters. I come up here because of Jesus Christ. I had another roommate, his name was Bob, and he had brain damage. And he would put shaving cream on his face. And he'd kind of try to comb his hair. He's a great big ugly guy, about 6'3" or 4. And he'd come over to the bed and he'd shake my bed. He'd ask me, "How'd I look?" "Well, you look like hell, Bob." He scared me to death. I'd call the nurses on him. They'd come in there and they'd get him over and they'd tie him up and they'd haul him off. So he quit coming over and asking me how he looked. But he'd go over and he'd stand by the window and he'd look out into the parking lot, out into the darkness. And I said, "What are you doing, Bob?" He said, "Well, I'm waiting for my wife to come see me." You know, I think about that often anymore when I sit in the dark out at the ranch and I kind of look out there. What Bob wanted to be is his wife was coming to see him. He wanted to be as cleaned up as he could get. But the damn brain damage of the fall, he really didn't understand when she may show up. But he wanted to be cleaned up when she came, because he loved her. When I look out at the ranch, look out in the darkness, I know a couple of things. My Savior's coming back. I know He loves me. And I want to be cleaned up when He gets here. I don't exactly know what that means. I may still have a bunch of shaving cream on my face, and I may still have a bunch of sin stuff hanging around, but I do know one thing. I don't want to curse light in my right hand. I don't want to be drunk when He gets here. I want to be praising His name. I'd be glad He came and got me right now, testifying. I'd really like for Him to come when Karen's upstairs practicing playing Amazing Grace. I have the opportunity of being married to a very talented wife. She was playing at the church one time, the guy came up and said, God sent an angel to play for us at our church. And I assure you, she's no angel. She's just barely. She doesn't come close. But when she's playing that violin, I think I'm entertaining her.